I use them.
Aatrox, TP.
Kill this guy.
I'm coming.
I can CC him. No pressure, bro. No pressure. I stand. Enough.
Targum's coming in with a Glacial Fissure as well. Oscar in and shot down. Good collapse from KC. Razork, Glacial Prison. That's the next Smith year I've ever seen one, but Razork, the Magnet Storm will only buy him a second.
Look, I got Help, Patrik. We can end, by the way. We can kill the ball.
And welcome back to the ADC As Fnatic takes the first match of the week we have here in Spring. And Marek, thank you so much for joining me after this one.
Thank you.
Tell me about the game, how it was when we saw that KC might come back during some... Sorry, I'm going to take my earpiece out. When we saw that KC could come back in some fights, what did you think of their approach and also Second going for Aurelion Sol here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we made kind of a lot of mistakes where we went a bit over-aggressive when we could just take 3 towers.
Yeah.
So that's where they kind of managed to fight us, usually 4v5. So, yeah, they did well. I think Aurelion Sol kind of sucks, so
Okay.
that's pretty much it about the
Right.
champ.
Well, hopefully we don't see it again. I want to talk about winter versus spring and the progress that you've made, but also the fact that I know you felt really bad after winter, unfortunately. I hope you feel better now, but talk me through this process of being angry, being sad. What did you feel back then and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like me and the team also, we just played pretty bad in the playoffs last split. I think we had no identity and we had no idea what to do on the map. So after that, I felt really bad because I want to hold myself to a higher standard than that. And after that, I pretty much took it upon myself to make sure we improve on all of this. And so far, I think it's going pretty well.
Self-reflecting is always nice, and I'm happy to see that you took this road, Mike. Hopefully it's going to lead to brighter days for you in spring. I saw some messages on Twitter. Your team loves you. You're the most beautiful human being. You're the best. Tell me about this. Did you write everything?
Of course not. It was all my teammates that wrote it by themselves.
Fantastic. They're amazing. We have June on the other side waiting for GB to break down a play. Anything you want to tell your AD carry?
Yeah, my AD carry played really well, but I think your build was really fucking bad. So make sure to improve on it.
All right, Marek, thank you so much. GB, Noah, over to you.
Thank you very much. I had something else planned first. Do you have a response to your mid laner here?
I mean, our mid laner told to something and we mistake, so it was my mid bet, but it's fine.
Okay, so mid lane's fault, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so Noah, I have a play, and we were talking about this play earlier as well. I would love to know, from a mindset of an AD carry, how you approach these fights. We're going over the clip. I'm going to show it to the viewers as well in a bit. But you were telling me it was a mechanical mistake going into this fight. As I roll out the fight now, can you tell me why this fight is a mechanical misplay? So it starts off with a good shockwave in the beginning, but then Aurelion Sol comes down here. What goes wrong in this team fight for you guys?
I mean, when we play this comp, we should focus Jerry and Auser. So, but this fight, we didn't focus Jerry and Auser, so they got free damage. So
yeah,
it was a mistake.
And do you have anyone you'd like to call out on the mistake? Is it a team mistake, or do you feel like should have been better at setting it up for it, or what do you feel like really goes wrong with it?
I mean, it was team mistake, so we can do better with team. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, okay. As an AD carry, how much influence do you have on these plays? Because you were very fed this game, and you had a lot of potential to carry this game. Do you take over a lot of the communications in an instance like this, or do you rely a lot on teammates?
Like when I have no sums, or if enemy has no sums, I call this and we can fight better. So yeah, I did this.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. Short and straight to the point. Thank you very much, Noah. I'm going to have to throw it already over to the next game, so I'm going to throw it to the casters. Take it away, boys.
We're taking it away, and then we're bringing it back, because we can't actually move. We're tethered to the desk.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's like we have a leash.
We use nice little squishy floors, though.
True.
Yeah.
People don't know about the squishy floors. So we're going to cast GIANTX versus SK in a second.
Yeah, but first, the important
we
part.
stand on these mats because they're really squishy, and it makes it a lot easier for us to stand for long periods of time, because we're getting old.
Yeah.
So,
and Benny was already complaining about his knees backstage as well, so it all makes sense. Yeah.
Just old people. Anyway, GIANTX versus SK. A battle for teams to kind of solidify the ground they're on at the start here of Spring.
Yeah, I think especially like GIANTX yesterday, not having the best of times against Karmine Corp, was a little bit upsetting for them. I think they really wanted to come in and kind of hit the ground running, especially since they were one of our teams that made it to playoffs last time. But now coming up against SK, going to be a bit of a toughie. I think SK, also a team that you saw Nisqy try his damnedest on the RE yesterday to make it work for his team, but just couldn't quite get across the finish line. So curious to see how they try and bounce back here now.
Yeah, I think on day one performance, I would give it to SK before we see draft, etc. But we are going to see draft, and they do have to play a game before we can decide that.
Ashe.
So, yeah, Senna, Ashe has been banned out a lot, actually, in the LEC.
Yes.
So getting through here with only one AD carry ban in the first rotation means that GIANTX will get their hands on it. Patrik, the only player to lose on Smolder yesterday as well, which was disappointing for GIANTX. SK could look towards the Varus, a very common answer into the Ashe. Just you can outrange her because you just poke with your arrows instead of having to get close.
Obviously, you just try and take away that Ashe Varus combo, which is obnoxious on the bottom side of the map, right? So I'm curious to see exactly what the game plan is going to be going for. Do you just take something like the Sejuani here, set up Isma to try and go for some success? Or is it going to be a case of, well, let's just try and go for something funky in the bot lane, like Ezreal support or something? I don't know. What is T1 cooking at
DOS
this
is
stage?
not carrier. Okay, I'm just going to put that out there. Have a lot of respect for DOS. He's
Can't
a very
believe
good
you'd say
support,
that,
but he is not carrier. There is Ashe Kalista, though, for GIANTX. Alongside that, Jackie's picks up the Gragas. Can see that in the top lane for Odoamne, or even in the jungle. You see a little bit of Gragas jungle still. And it's a lot of displacement already. You've got the Fate's Call, chuck the Ashe in, you've got the Enchanted Arrow for pick, and then you have the Gragas to displace whoever has been picked. Very powerful combination already from GIANTX. SK have a similar one. You know, Chain of Corruption, Magnet Storm are very strong. Where are they going to look here, though? Do you pick support to try and match bot lane? The answer apparently is yes. Swiffer agrees with me. The Nautilus locked in, gives you a bit of kill threat down towards that bottom side, but when Nautilus goes in, if you don't kill, he struggles to get back out.
Yeah, and just the draft from SK is kind of bizarre to me because it's like, hey, look, we're going to not ban Ashe, but ban Blitzcrank, which I think is something that you kind of want into this scenario where it's like, hey, we want to try and play hyper-aggressive into it. But then if you're banning Blitzcrank, it's kind of saying, hey, we want to set up for like a melee or something like that, right? But obviously you can't with the Ashe taken. So it feels like SK came in with a game plan and then maybe we're caught off guard with the fact that IgNar feels comfortable playing the Ashe support.
Yep.
But he did play it last split, so that's why I'm kind of surprised to see that this is going to be the case. So I think SK are kind of now already a couple of steps behind and trying to catch up now to go like, okay, we'll now go Nautilus. We'll try and play for a bit more of an engaged style and see if we can get in on top of this Ashe. But I think you really need to try and get a good counter pick or a good push in mid here for Nisqy, because if Nisqy can lean down and cover the push that Kalista and Ashe are going to be going from that bot lane, it will help out quite a lot.
So what are our options? Orianna still available, does get pushed in
Plays
some matchups. Sway
well.
also a possibility. I like the Orianna Nautilus Rell combination when you think about team fights as well. Kai'Sa mid, a possibility. Could just be Exakick hovering it for a girlfriend or for someone else as well. Like we do often see that. So I shouldn't talk about hovers. That's one of the first casting rules you learn, and I talked about it. And now Renekton's locked in the top lane instead for Irrelevant. With the Rumble and the Aatrox bans, do you think GIANTX are signaling that the Gragas is going to go towards top, or do you think they're just saying, look, we don't want to play against Rumble, we don't want to play against Aatrox?
Yeah, I think you're like, the Gragas is a nice answer into Renekton, so I think it is a little bit of a, hey, let's try and get rid of these picks. Also because you're playing a composition that wants to be able to set up and kind of look for, or at least be safe without having to deal with too many different flanks, and Rumble ult kind of counts as that flank opportunity, and then Aatrox very, very potent in that style, but also just well into Gragas, so I do think there is a certain amount of that. And now you've already got the Gragas on top. It's going to be shown here. Karma could be the option in the mid lane, which will get you a ton of push in that mid lane. Hwei is one of the ones that when you get past level like 7, 8 can do reasonably well, but actually going to go with the Jayce. So
Jayce has a little bit more synergy with the Sejuani than something like the Hwei or the Karma would. Obviously, you switch into melee form and you can very quickly stack up that permafrost. Gragas does a similar thing in top because it's melee. SK now, though, can look towards a pushing mid, get them down towards that bottom lane. One of the key points we think they need to enact in this draft if they're going to win out this game.
So I'm actually curious if it's Jackie's going to take the Gragas as well, because you do have that flex pick as well, where Jayce, good matchup into Renekton in that top side. It's something where you can play very heavily for the push. And then with the the Gragas in mid, look, you'll lose out on a little bit of push, but maybe you're still just happy to say, hey, we'll have so much control on side lanes. But all right, doesn't look like it at the moment, but was an option there. But yeah, Nisqy going to go back towards the Orianna. Going to have a decent amount of time of trying to still play aggressive in this lane. You don't get to play as aggro with the auto attacks, but you still have decent push. You just have to be careful of trying to burn through your mana because the command dissonance does cost a significant amount of mana if you're trying to match the push from the Jayce in the early stages.
And it looks like it is going to be Jayce in the mid lane against that Orianna. So we'll see how Nisqy is able to work the map. Did have a very good performance yesterday. A couple of misplays, a couple of like overextensions, but they were more overextensions looking to try and find his team something than he was out of position costing his team the game. It was desperation plays rather than mistakes as of such.
I think he needed to do that because if he didn't get the threat onto the back line, it was just the game was over anyway, right? But I think Nisqy's definitely been stepping up a lot. Like, I think he's had some really strong performances over the last little while. It's just unfortunate that his team hasn't been able to capitalize on it, but definitely looking like a very strong mid laner and going up against Jayce. It's a decent matchup for Jayce, but he's going to have to see if he can get control in this lane or Nisqy will be able to take over.
I very much agree with you. Let's get on to the rift for GIANTX versus SK. Both these teams looking for their first win of spring. I want to focus on a couple of players that haven't been doing too well though, Dagda. Patrik and Exakick in this bot lane. Exakick, when he came onto the LEC stage, had an incredible split. His winter last year was absolutely sublime. SK often look very good in winter and then kind of fall off over the course of the seasons. But I think yesterday Exakick really struggled. I think Patrik has been a player that so often we have talked about as a possible next great AD carry from Europe. You know, we've seen him on so many different iterations of rosters, and so often it's been, he's the guy that we have to look at. Similar to Alfari, like a very good player who just didn't seem to be able to win. Didn't seem to be able to get that final result. And I think Patrik, at least for me, has kind of got to the end of his lifespan of trust.
Yeah.
At some point, you have to start winning. And for me, he's got past the point where I can say, oh, you know, he's just had a couple of bad teams. Oh, they just were unlucky a couple of games. He really needs to show up this year, for me, to solidify his position as one of the AD carries we really look at here in Europe.
And regain that trust as well, right? And especially after the performance yesterday in Smolder wasn't exactly the best. Now this is a lane matchup where they should very much be able to get control on this bottom side, even start opting in towards the double Doran's Blade start as well. You want to play hyper aggressive, like double Hail of Blades, just get in the face of Exakick and DOS. And I mean, as you say, like Exakick and DOS haven't had the best of times, and may not right now either.
Yeah, Exakick has to flash away. DOS caught out as well. IgNar running the barrier in this lane. Sometimes you see Ashes go for the heal. IgNar's job is to tank the hook and then allow Patrik to dance around behind him. So use the barrier to make sure that you can tank that hook initially. Obviously, Patrik has the martial cadence, I think, martial poise? Yeah, martial cadence, yeah, to dash around with his passive. DOS and Exakick, though, unable to approach this lane. Isma went for a Razor Beaks into Wolves, into Gromp to try and perhaps avoid any future ganks down towards this bot side, but it means he won't have a buff. And Peach will have two after stealing away that blue and now taking his own red.
Yeah, the biggest problem is that now that you have no flash for Exakick, trying to approach the wave becomes so much more difficult because Ashe exists with auto attack slows. So every time you walk up, you can't get away, especially after you hit the level 2 and you get that Ranger's focus. So yes, you can burn the cleanse, but that next auto attack is coming immediately. So it makes it very difficult for you to try and hold on. So I think Isma's job here, just to try and break this and make sure that, well, not so much break it, but at least allow Exakick and DOS to catch this wave as it hits the tower. And make sure that he can get a ward onto the Raptors here as he comes in to spot out exactly what Peach is up to.
And, I mean, he doesn't even need the ward because he just sees the ball. The Power Rider Peach there. He's going to force Isma out and battle over these Razor Beaks. Peach will be happy enough if this continues, though. Wave pushing in the bot lane. Isma just wasting a bit of his time. Peach goes in with the Arctic Assault, looking for that Permafrost as well. Needs another order. Doesn't get there in time. Patrik still has that sizable lead in the bot lane. 16 CS right now. Now, there are about 10 or so underneath this tower, so if Exakick and DOS farm up well, it will only be about a wave's worth of lead, but already a plate going over to IgNar and Patrik as well.
Yeah, that's already the win for IgNar and Patrik, and again, a lot of that being the fact that Exakick and DOS tried to contest that level 1, and it ended up backfiring, with Exakick having to flash away. So now, the push is secured. It means he can't go for the dive, because Peach was occupied with Isma, but Nisqy?
Jackie's going in here. I'm not sure he really wanted as much of this trade as he's taken. He gets the knockback, but command attack with the dissonance gets the edge of Jackie's hitbox, and Manages to chunk him out. Nisqy here can freeze this wave back, TP back in to make sure he can maintain the freeze. Jackie's backing as well. We'll teleport back in. So it's going to be a few minions lost for Jackie's at the end. No summoners burnt. Both the mid laners will use their TPs. DOS here looking for the damage. Aftershock will keep him a little bit tankier. Ranger's focus now from IgNar onto Exakick, and he has no flash, remember. Does have the cleanse. Not often the most effective to use it on the slow from an Ashe, but still sometimes needs must as the devil drives. So Exakick could escape from there. Isma went in. I don't think he stole away anything from this top side with the blue buff still being up. In fact, I'm pretty darn sure that he didn't, but he did get vision on Peach, which allows his bot lane a little bit more safety.
Yeah, Patrik and IgNar are going to... They could have frozen the wave, but instead they assume that Exakick will have backed, so they're just going to go from tower. I think Exakick probably should have backed, because now he doesn't have a support here to try and help him. You can see DOS was starting to roam mid, expecting GIANTX's bot lane to reset, but instead now you just open up a 440 gold lead off of the CS and also having those 2 turret plates. So GIANTX's bot lane playing very well around this advantage, and you really need Isma to try and get down here to punish this, or maybe work with Nisqy to try and get down here to punish this, but he just hasn't had a chance with the way that Peach has been able to interact with this bot side.
Ring around the roses for Isma. He's still kept up in CS. Peach manages to take a Void Grub away. Isma will look to take one as well. We talked about how it's good for you to get a treat for your jungle item. Both of them really only want one. Isma might look for more because he's got pushing mid, pushing top, so he does have the opportunity for Nisqy to move across first, and Irrelevant can make sure that Odoamne stays in lane. That ward there from Nisqy just giving a little bit more safety to Isma, knowing that Peach wasn't looking to jump over the wall or steal.
I think he's just happy as Peach to get one, because Irrelevant having level 6 and the push on top would have made it hard. So I think they'll try and reset and look for the bot dragon instead. DOS hovering mid as Exakick is coming off a reset here. Don't know if they're going to be able to get too much though.
Jackie still has the flash, even if DOS manages to find a flash hook connect. Jackie's now ticking over to 6 as well. The wave in the bot lane looks like it actually crashed into the GIANTX tower, so that's going to slowly start pushing back out. Exakick on his way down there to answer it. Isma now on his second clear, going through his bot side camps. He will be able to path down towards his bot lane, but really that's the point of blading, and that's the point we have to focus on. And it can feel like we've talked about it a lot. We've talked about, oh, they've got this early lead, they've got the CS, they've got the 2 plates, but this is the key point on the map. And if GIANTX continue to pressure the way they're doing and they aren't punished effectively by SK, you're going to look at a 500 to 1,000 gold lead for this Kalista coming in to probably around 15 minutes.
And that's why this double AD carry meta warps the entire way the game is played, because it's a case of, cool, can we get a big enough advantage that we bypass not having an engaged supporter or a tanky supporter, a support that at least brings a bit more to the table. So, and even the fact that when you look at how you operate with an Ashe in the mid to late game, it's, hey, we want to look for picks with the ult that then set up for the rest of the fight. And if you don't have a lead, it becomes very, very difficult to do so. So, at least at the moment, Patrik and IgNar have kind of bypassed a lot of that, and they'll be able to keep up a little bit of this strength. But I think they do need to continue putting pressure at the tower, rotate around the map, start using IgNar, especially as he starts to crest over to 6. Just lob an arrow up mid lane. If you manage to hit, cool. Peach has more CC to follow up. Jackie suddenly gets a kill. Suddenly you control mid lane as well, or you burn a flash from Nisqy, which would be massive. There's a lot of opportunities to try and use this Ashe once she gets these leads.
For SK, I wonder whether playing through mid to bot might be a more effective strategy. Nisqy winning out on the mid lane right now, about 10 CS up, already has that tier stacking, and if you can maneuver Jackie's out of that lane, get the push in mid, and then come into this bot side jungle, it actually provides a lot more safety for your bot lane because they have that threat. That's what Isma's looking to do. Jackie's stepping a little bit further forward. Nisqy has the shock blast, but shock wave, but the shock blast from Jackie's clears out the wave, and he defensively positions for his recall.
Still though, with Isma not even showing, but just the threat of him being there, does mean again Nisqy will get this freeze. So it's 2 freezes now that SK have helped Nisqy get, and he is opening up a bit of a gold lead for himself, getting to a position where he's going to be fine. Now, it is a tier start, so it's kind of evening up the matchup, but it's both tiers on both sides. And I think for Nisqy, if you can get that level 6 play with Isma towards some of these big fights, you're in a great spot. But if you're GIANTX, avoiding that duo, and honestly the top side of the map completely for SK, will leave you in a good spot anyway with just how much control IgNar and Patrik have.
Ooh, Exakick trying to hide the chain of corruption there. If it had caught Patrik or IgNar, there was a possibility to engage. No cleanse, remember, on GIANTX's bot lane, so he could have looked for something. Can't find it. Exakick now all back. There's going to be more damage to this tower from Patrik and IgNar. Rest of the map, on as even pretty much in every lane. Nisqy has got that CS lead, so he's about 300 gold ahead, but top lane 111, jungle 30, nothing to write home about. 4 plates in the bot lane though for GIANTX, a very strong start for them here in their second game of the split.
Yeah, again, I think it's for... It's just going to be a case of continuing on to this bot side, because at the moment it's like SK, again, last Isma is down here, but not really at a good time. He also the fact that Exakick kind of wasted, honestly, the corrupted Chains of Corruption as well. Going to leave them in an awkward spot. Peach, we spotted moving into this top side, but again, like, Patrik and IgNar kind of got away, unless you... Oh!
He's out.
Yeah, he could have been a big moment there to catch them out, but they're going to start to reset here, move up towards top side, make sure they're able to look for a Rift Heart as well. And honestly, GIANTX are just playing perfectly around this bottom side of the map. And you can see that SK are going to match these resets. Irrelevant already moving back. He'll go to answer the push on bot side, but you're just further ahead. So you're sorry, the Rift Heart.
Yeah, we're so used to the 8-minute swap for Rift Heart. Yeah,
but it's sorry, 8-minute swap for Void Grub still is kind of it, and you can get more turret plates here as well. So it works out perfectly now where you're just, again, getting more pressure for IgNar and Patrik.
It's actually a composition where Void Grubs are actually relatively effective.
Yes, they are, yeah,
because you get double AD carry, you also have the Jayce, all those auto attacks helping out with the true damage. Not going to get any mites with only 4 Void Grubs, but still IgNar and Patrik will be very happy to put the damage down on towards this top lane tower. There's the Hawk shot. That should spot Exakick on his way. Doss trying to do what he can to get into this lane, but Peach and IgNar keeping him at bay. It's going to be another plate at least. Isma moving his way up, but he's marked by Jackies. So he's getting that push in the mid lane a little bit more often. Doss with the hook. There's the Fate's call out, so ultimate burnt by the GIANTX bot lane just to give themselves that little bit more safety. Peach going to get stunned up here by Isma, who just jumps away. It's more about posturing to defend this tower. Odoamne was forced out of bot lane.
Nisqy's on the way, though. This is where, again, you got to get back up as GIANTX, because you don't want to give too much across, but because you get the push, this is where, in theory, GIANTX would reset and move back to bot side to get the first tower. But that's where they're actually bluffing SK a little bit here, because SK have now reset, thinking that's what they're going for. That you can see they are on their way to bot side, but now realize, oh crap, hang on a second, they faced the reset, and now GIANTX are going to get another, if not 2 plates on this top side. So, nice kind of bluff there from GIANTX to catch out SK.
A little bit sneaky beaky from them, just hiding in the fog of war. Should be 2 plates. I expect after 2 plates they'll reset, because there is a Drake in 30 seconds. Yeah. It would be their second of the game, so it's not going to be a full tower. It's unlikely to be a full tower at least. They stay for a couple more auto attacks. Maybe just shove this cannon wave in and then reset for the bot side.
But that is the threat, right?
Yeah.
It's like an Ocean Dragon in the grand scheme of things. First Dragon for SK, like, I don't really care as GIANTX, right? But if you end up not sending Exakick and Doss to this top side, all right, cool, we will take the full tower and we will start to explode.
Peach caught out here. Magnustorm going down. Doesn't even have time to flash with the depth charge. First blood over to SK Peach, just a little bit too greedy with his positioning. And Doss and Isma doing a good job to connect up and catch out the enemy jungler.
That's a massive mistake for Peach, because like I was about to explain was, you basically get to now reset for Dragon first and bypass a fight. With Peach now being caught, it means that you can't really go for the Dragon on this reset, so Exakick and Doss will actually get their own reset in time to set up and match that play, or even just SK immediately go for Dragon. So the plans there for GIANTX hitting a bit of a wrench in the works.
Yeah, Peach doesn't die. It's a much stronger situation for GIANTX. There's the arrow. Irrelevant flashes it. Isma backing off the Dragon because Irrelevant was forced out. It now means GIANTX actually get in here. So Peach's slight misstep not costing too much for GIANTX, apart from obviously the 400 gold that goes hand in hand with First Blood. Second Dragon of the game for GIANTX, and now they'll look for this bot lane tower. You need a bit of deep vision first. They have a ward over towards that blue and one where Doss is currently standing.
Yeah, Exakick stayed for one too many waves in that top side, so 30 seconds stuck around in that top end means he was late then for the Dragon. Meant he was also then a little bit late coming in onto this bot side as well. They had to clear out the wave, but look, you're still getting these now advantages for GIANTX, where it could have been the play where SK start to get a foothold in the game and make it more difficult for Patrik and IgNar to continue this threat, but unfortunately just a little bit behind on the play.
Patrik holding this wave here. I wondered if they'd try and hard force this push to make sure they get 5 plates off this bot lane tower, but because Peach went to clear his Krugs, went to clear his red, and because Nisqy has move out of mid, I think discretion the better form of valor here for GIANTX. Just back away a little bit. You already have 800 gold lead on your AD carry. You've got 200 on your support as well. You don't have to overforce.
And this is where the game is going to start to become more and more a case of, okay, how well can we use IgNar on the map to look for fixes?
Okay, so... yeah.
I thought you were going to hit me with like, you know, a funny meme as to why he did that, but it just felt like there was no. Yeah.
It was in the scriptures, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the sun alkali.
He's so humble. He's the chosen
Vision
one.
obscured by a sandstorm that was rolling across the rift. Apollo is basically a small worm, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, the tower in the bot lane, the first target here. Enchanted Crystal Arrow on Dosh. Cleanse immediately from Exakick as he gets away from the Glacial Prison. TP behind as Patrik burns the heal. Isma looking for the engage. Fate's call out. Irrelevant knocked back by the cast from Odoamne. But Patrik is locked out by the Renekton. Peach next up on the menu. Imagine if he still had his flash, but he died and maybe he'll rise again in a few moments time, 20 seconds before Peach is back on the map. SK punished well in the bot lane.
I mean, they managed to get the picks that they needed to. It was a bit of a slow burner, but SK get the play. They managed to... Odo, going to try and get a bit of damage on the relevant, but really massive turnaround. Again, just over pushing on this bottom side a little bit from Patrik and IgNar, where they try to go underneath the tower that bit too soon, and you end up with getting locked up as Patrik, which means that then you're the one that can't actually try and escape. You want that to be IgNar, and then great engage from Isma with the TP coming through from Irrelevant, and it's a nice try from Odoamne. You had to try and get someone out of the equation, but with the way Irrelevant was separated from the jungler, it was going to make it very difficult to try and escape.
It's also, you're trying to kill a Nautilus with Aftershock under a tower. Like, the guy has CC and it's tanky. It just feels like a step too far, a cheat from GIANTX as Isma caught out with the Arctic Assault here. The spear's going in, tries to get the stun, can't quite land it as Patrik dances to the side. Good hook though, into the shockwave, landing on 3. Patrik gets a kill, but he might pay for it with his life as Exakick takes him down. Peach next up as SK get 2. Enchanted Crystal Arrow from IgNar, but Exakick on the chase, and he will manage to help Nisqy secure it. In the end, another good trade for SK, 3 for 2. Odo's going to get some damage on this bot lane turret. It's the first tower to fall. And after how much damage Patrik and IgNar did in the early game, it's a little bit later than I think they would have liked.
This is where, for GIANTX, it's a case of, okay, we have 2 dragons, can we just avoid taking team fights? Because with how Nisqy just played that last fight, with the big shockwave, getting Exakick a ton of gold, you can see on the gold that was massively far ahead for this Kalista is just gone in an instant, and all for a crab. You know, Peach tries to set up here to go on towards Isma, but they just don't really have an awful lot of damage just yet. They will eventually kill him, right? But it's just, everyone in SK having collapsed. The shockwave is beautiful there from Nisqy, and Nisqy's in a great spot to keep using these auto attacks to try and chase people down, and Exakick as well. Just able to finish people off there with Nisqy flashing forward, and he's got a big old smile on his face. He knows he should not be able to get that back. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm pretty happy in this sort of position. 2-0-3, Yumu's first item on the Varus. Do see a lot of Varus going opportunity first as well. Yumu's just that little bit of extra movement speed, but not as strong as it once was as Jackie splashes in. Nisqy no flash, shockwave available. Does get the pull back, but Jackie's still chasing forward here, and Nisqy will be shut out of the fight by Jackie's. Peach now caught out once again. It's rotten to the core, that Peach, it seems, this game, as he has to dash away. Knight's Vow finished for him. Sunfire Cape first for Isma. No Knight's Vow yet. Perhaps no one deserving of being crowned.
Still a nice job from Jackie's on that top end.
Oh, Hex Flash. Hex Flash hook. Hex Flash hook. Oh. Just
not quite, but Jackie's going to get top tower. And the fact, hang on, no, Isma should be fine. But the fact that you're getting the pressure here for GIANTX in mid as well, because you got the kill on Nisqy, is just perfect. And with just a couple of seconds now until the Dragon is up and available as well, Jackie's gets the reset by his Mura mana, TP back into the fight. Like, GIANTX are in a really good spot now. The only downside is that IgNar doesn't have his ultimate up just yet. You'd love to try and use that to find a pick before the fight kicks off, because with almost 2 items complete onto Nisqy, he's going to be a pretty dangerous boy when it comes to these fights.
Fast out alteration will spot out the Dragon's HP. Spears being stacked into it. Isma looking for the engage on Peach, finds it once again. And Peach has to dash away, and now in the middle of the pit, the rest of GIANTX are left to the wolves. Another hook comes in from DOS. There's the AD carry support duo killed off, and the Dragon secured by SK.
And a great example of the downside of taking an Ashe is that if you end up in a position where you're starting to fall behind and an enemy team can just engage on you, you just don't have enough survivability or enough in the tank to try and turn around. And they needed that Ashe ult to try and find a pick beforehand, but when GIANTX are trying to stand up in front of it, as long as Peach is out of the fight, like, who else is going to try and stand up and be accounted for here? So Isma turns out to Peach. Patrik tries to finish off the Dragon, but Irrelevant does a good job of turning onto him and forcing him out of the fight. At that point forward, SK are in a perfect spot to just continue on.
SK just dividing and conquering GIANTX right there. They have only about a 500 gold lead, but they've stopped the Dragon stacking, which is vital against this GX lineup. Jackies is 2-0, has the Eclipse complete. Nisqy 2-1-3 as Peach once again caught out. And it doesn't matter what sort of prophet you are. I'm not sure these writings are really coming up trumps for GIANTX. Patrik trying to do what he can towards the side here. Isma locked up. Odo now the next target for SK as he falls. And the chase continues. Peach has to use the Mega Blast Cone to get away. But this should be a Rift Herald over to SK. And every fight where it's 5v5 is coming up on SK's side.
Yeah, I mean, look, Paddy's Day is next week, so maybe that's when Patrick's going to come alive. But the biggest problem I'm seeing is that every time they go for a fight, Patrik isn't really in a position to follow up here. Like, you try and take the scrap, Patrik is clearing out a wave in mid lane, he's not able to get in a position to follow up, and SK are just, ooh, maybe actually going to get caught here.
Doesn't have the flash. No Glacial Prison for Peach either. Irrelevant now on the chase. Command Dissonance for the speed up. Peach could be stunned up. IgNar pathing towards the wrong side of the Rift. I'm sorry, mate. There be monsters as SK get their 10th of the game, and it's becoming a shooting gallery for this SK lineup. GIANTX seem all at odds and ends.
Yeah, they just don't really know where they want to try and be in the map, and Peach honestly having a bit of a nightmare, getting caught out in several different positions, trying to overforce plays when the map isn't really set up, and SK are punishing every step of the way, and suddenly Exakick, who was down and out and having a miserable time, you can see on the screen taking a sigh of relief. 4-0-3, he has a gold lead. Like, from this point on, GIANTX, I just don't think you really have the opportunity to take team fights.
And the problem is you have no threat as well. It's like, well, SK don't care if you get the next Drake, because it's not Soul. That you can set up around the Baron, but they know they went out on team fights, or at least that is the trend that has been happening this game. Maybe not a big enough sample size yet, but I'm saying it's pretty darn devastating for GIANTX. No vision for them either past the midway point of the map. Exakick stepping up, looking for some more damage on the tower, doesn't overstep. I mean, GIANTX do have 4 grubs. I guess that's something, right?
4 grubs in a dream.
It's the name of the next LEC single, I'm pretty sure.
Beautiful, yeah.
I just want to see Vedi in a grub outfit, I'll be honest. Like, did you ever watch Mr. Blobby?
Yes.
Yes.
That is
Vedi is Mr. Blobby. That's a UK reference you European kids won't get.
And Irish.
And Irish. So, yes. United Kingdom and Ireland.
It's all good.
I'm sorry, after we beat you in the rugby yesterday, I'm pretty sure
I was snapping 1 point. I was just...
Best team in the world.
Look, we didn't even make it to a finals. What do you mean? Come on.
You haven't made it past the quarters, man.
I know.
Peach now stepping up once again. He's going to dash away with the Arctic Assault. GIANTX trying to get mid lane prio. It's a 5v5 brawl in the mid lane right now. Both the side lanes in a relatively neutral position, so minions lost on either side. No team getting too much benefit from those minions' positions.
And this is going to look a bit weird for SK, where it's looking a bit ARAM-y, but honestly, I think this is the way you have to play it, because the only way that GIANTX get back into this is long-range IgNar ult into, hey, we're going to find a pick, make things uncomfortable. So as long as SK are kind of, hey, we will push out a wave and immediately group up again, it just makes it very hard for GIANTX to play the game, especially when Dragon in a minute's time, they go for the reset now. You can start to shove mid once more with that mid tower now down and get yourself back into position. Jackies will get a bit of damage here. Shouldn't be able to take the tower, as a lot of members from SK starting to group, and honestly it's kind of set him a little bit late on his own reset here for the Dragon. Yeah,
it looks like it's going to have to be a TP invested if they do want to fight over this Dragon, because he has to walk all the way back knowing that SK will be pathing through their bot side jungle. He can back around here. That's 8 seconds before he's back out on the map. The Dragon's up in 30. Maybe he'll get there in time, but perhaps with Peach on the top side of the map, GIANTX is actually just giving this one up. SK get the time to step into this jungle, knowing that they would be at a numbers advantage. Jackie, sorry, not even finishing his base. Went all the way back to the tower in the end. Odo looking for Nisqy. Nisqy has 2 items. Seraph's Leandry's complete for him. Odo at the same, though. Seraph's Rod of Ages.
Yeah, this is where I think it's a bit of a mistake for Nisqy to be on the top side. I'd much rather see Irrelevant on this top end, because he's able to deal with much more of this pressure, and I think this is a good call from GIANTX. They realize, look, we can't really contest for Dragon with position, and Nisqy's gone!
Nisqy is locked out, but IgNar falling low as well. Down towards the bottom side, he was caught out. Irrelevant now TPing in, trying to bolster up the defenses on this tower. Jackie's just trying to take the turret underneath Irrelevant's nose, and they'll get it. Doss dashing in with the depth charge and the flash. Peach flashing away as well, but he's caught with a hail of arrows. Jackie's next up for SK as Irrelevant gets the shutdown. IgNar and Patrik unable to join up with their team, but all their summoners to escape, but Doss will not give Odo the same luxury. Dredge line hits, and Odo goes under.
So the idea is nice from GIANTX. It's, hey, we can't really fight this dragon because, as we said, Jackie's is off a bit of a weird reset. We know that SK are just that little bit too strong. So what we'll do instead is try and trade. Make sure we can go for the top side. We punish Nisqy because Orianna doesn't want to be the one defending these towers, but they pull it a little bit too soon. GX hadn't committed to the dragon, and that's where they're able to then immediately rotate all members up. Now Nisqy,
yeah, he's going to spot out IgNar and Patrik. IgNar has the edge of night. Patrik trying to step back into him. No ultimates available for the GIANTX bot lane. It was a call from GIANTX to go for the dragon because they knew SK were on the Baron, but Nisqy's TP down there means that they do not get any objectives out of the trade. SK now with a 4,000 gold lead. A second dragon of the game up next if they so desire that neutral. Have another look at this fight because, as you say, I really think if we don't see IgNar getting caught, it's a much different fight because IgNar gets caught, doesn't get to use the arrow, has to use it to defend himself.
Yeah. I think the problem is that IgNar is already the smoke for the fire that has happened, right? Yeah. IgNar being caught there meant that SK hadn't committed to the dragon, and they were always going to be able to turn around this play, right? You needed to spot the fact that SK were on the dragon before you committed to it, and at this stage, you're already too deep as GIANTX, so I think even if IgNar hadn't got caught, they're just too far gone at that stage. You're too far in enemy territory, and SK are on the hunt.
That makes sense. 4,000 gold lead now for SK, 2 minutes left on their Baron buff. Some standing gold for them as well. Top lane tier 1 still available, as is this bot lane. Irrelevant's going to push in here. Got 2.5 items on the Renekton. 4-0-4 as well. Has had a quietly very impressive performance. Something often we can say from Irrelevant. Usually it's a little bit more loud how impressive his performance is, but this game he's just been in the right position at the right time on a lot of different occasions. Now looks like he's pathing up towards top lane to push that out with Exakick, and SK just doing everything they can to take as much gold off the map as possible during this Baron buff.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, it's not going to be a game-ending Baron buff unless GIANTX completely misplay, but they're going to get a ton of the standing gold, right?
Yeah,
you can get top tier. Yeah. They'll try and get the mid-tower tier 2 as well and just get a ton of vision down in the enemy jungle. At the moment, SK again, just trying not to spread out too thin on the map, so you can see they're just trying to play off of 2 waves and not give that opportunity. Like, look at where IgNar is, right? He's just trying to hover back out of vision and see if he can fish for some of these hooks. And as long as you don't spot IgNar, it makes it very difficult for SK to really commit into this any sort of 1-3-1 or be separated the map. You need to have a lot of information. Odo just doing a nice job of kind of abusing that at the moment and saying, hey, you're only playing off 2 waves. Cool. We'll just try and trade tier 2 for tier 2.
But it might be 2 tier 2s for 1 tier 2 as Nisqy bolstering up this cannon minion means that this tower will fall in the mid lane. So it's 3 towers in exchange for 1 in terms of trades on this Baron. SK will get about 3,000 gold out of it in total. Reset now. And still a while before we see the next neutral objective on the map. So SK likely just try to force GIANTX out of the jungle.
I do feel like neutral objective is a bad word for it, though.
Why?
Because they attack you.
Yeah,
which
but
isn't very
they're
neutral
neutral in terms of the battle between each team.
Yeah, I suppose they only attack if you attack.
Indiscriminate objectives, I guess, then.
Yeah.
Because they'll attack anyone.
Yeah. I feel like neutral is a little bit like, oh yeah, you're not going to do anything, right?
Yeah,
like to chill.
Yeah.
But I suppose if you get attacked, they will attack, and that's the only way they do.
But then,
so it's like yeah,
the problem is, I don't know, like, a neutral PH is in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. I'm not sure, man. We can call them indiscriminate objectives if you want.
I mean, you were telling me all these facts about Switzerland earlier on. I thought you'd be up to date on all the neutral statuses.
You know, I'm not sure what I like the most about Switzerland, but the flag is a big plus. So,
I regret life choices.
Welcome to Vetti's world. So yes, the indiscriminate objectives still 2.5 minutes away from spawning on either side. About a 20 seconds discrepancy between the dragon coming up and then respectively the Baron coming up later on. And you can see SK just pushing out the waves. It's like, okay, we don't really have anything we can force GIANTX to play around right now. They're just going to catch. So they can look for that bot lane tier 2. They tried to get a bit of vision in, but that's been cleared out. There's a single ward on either side of the jungle.
It's at this stage, it's kind of just a waiting game, right? SK just want to try and shove in as many waves as possible, mid and bot. And
oh, Peach. Flashes away. Irrelevant, though. Can look for a bit more of a chase. Isma's on his way as well, and once again, it's Peach being a little bit too greedy. There's the arrow onto Isma. Jackie's now caught out as he tries to save his jungler and pays for it with his life. Well, that was a Peach of a situation there for GIANTX, and SK get another kill. Shouldn't have got that, I'm going to be honest.
I mean, especially is like, look, everything that SK wants to do is clear waves and then just set up vision. You know they're going to be in that area, right? They're looking at Dragon. They want to try and deny it from you. So way too overextended for a Scuttle Crab at the end of the day.
You say that to Blabber, okay?
I mean, look, if
he got it.
Look, he did get it. And maybe this is going to come back to bite SK in the 50 seconds before we get to Dragon. But the problem is they're going to lose a lot more map space for Peach being dead. And maybe the little speed up, they won't even get to it, which is just going to be, it's going to be an awful day all around, you know?
Jackie's up in 9 seconds. Irrelevant is showing top to push out that wave. So there is a tiny window of opportunity here as Isma looks for the engage. TP in by Irrelevant. They know Jackie's has only just spawned. He's coming back out, but already Odoamne is down. So what was a possible 5v4 in favor of GIANTX immediately becomes a 5v4 on SK's side as they manage to use that TP in to kill off the enemy top.
And even Peach just been sent packing as well. They're 15 seconds. SK are going to take this. It's going to be now seeing, hey, look, how much more are they going to try and get on the map? Because the beauty of having Odoamne down is that you don't really have to now invest too much in the spot side. You can start to teeter a lot of that vision off of pushing waves into top end of the map as well, or even putting more pressure onto this bottom side. So SK, I think at this stage, GIANTX, it was a nice start to your bottom side of the map, getting Patrik and IgNar that good lead, but they just have not been able to play the map well enough to concretely put that victory.
Yeah, Patrick's a full item behind now on AD carry, right? You've got the Hubris already complete on Exakick. I'm a bit sad they removed the sculptures from Hubris, like having the little statue.
That was really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty nifty. It's one of those things that I like those little fun additions to the game that don't really change anything but look cool. But it probably, like, there was probably like a Rek'Sai interaction where when Rek'Sai ulted someone who was in the middle of the air, accidentally they'd ult the statue and fly to the base or something.
And they become the statue and just live there forever.
Hey, it's better than playing Yuumi, okay? I could be a statue standing in the base or play Yuumi, I know which one I'd pick. But for the moment, SK just denying vision towards the top side. This game is as good as over unless SK misplay. Partly because GIANTX are behind, but also partly because compositionally, and we just haven't seen the proactivity from GIANTX that we are seeing from SK as he goes in. Odoamne, though, able to catch out Exakick on the backside, has to pop the stopwatch. IgNar and Patrik now can open up, and we say maybe SK will misplay. Well, perhaps they do as the Fates call pulls back IgNar. Peach on the front line. IgNar going back in. Dots with the hook. Tanked up by IgNar. Has the barrier, has the heal. Now we see, though, Patrick's the one who goes too far forward as SK get another. Although Isma died off first, SK still come out on top.
I mean, Odo, we salute you. That was definitely a well-earned try, but there was just nothing that you could do. Nearly gets Exakick, but Exakick's playing poke fire, so he just continues to hit you from a mile away regardless, and SK are able to turn the fight around. So it was almost good for GIANTX, but just not quite enough. And we'll see it here, right? Isma trying to get on towards, like, Jackie's here. I know some Patrik is going to be coming around in just a second as they spot them out here. And I like the call, but Odo just makes him work for it so much. Immediately, with Exakick being a half health, tries to blow him up, doesn't quite get the Q barrel down to finish off Exakick. And then Exakick is continuing to just be able to turn out damage here. And even as they try and go for the re-engage here with the Ashe, this is the downside of it. Immediately, she dies. Well, doesn't die, has to flash away and heal away, but it ends up being Patrik who goes down instead.
As soon as you lose Odoamne, Irrelevant just very happy to stand on that front line. No one really that can work their way through Irrelevant quickly. Sundered Sky, Titanic Hydra, Jack-Show, and Sterax. That is a very tanky croc. And now SK can basically rinse and repeat, do the same thing, push through mid. Nisqy pushes out top wave. That will slowly go towards GIANTX's side. Odoamne trying to get out bot as the Chain of Corruption lands onto Peach. He's locked up. Patrik forced away by Irrelevant. Peach has to dash down to half. That was Chain of Corruption used as Peach falls a little bit lower. What do we have for GIANTX in terms of Odoamne? No Glacial Prison, no Arrow. Fates call back up in 6 seconds time. Odoamne still has the cask. SK setting up in this bush, and they use the Mega Blast Cone to try and get in. Isma does have the Magnet Storm. Odoamne looking for the knockback as Isma steps on the front line, and Odoamne is just gobbled. Eaten alive by SK. 18 kills to 5, an 8,000 gold lead, and Baron next up.
Yeah, and Odo was kind of the only one that was a threat there to SK. If you end up with a big barrel, maybe you can get Nisqy or Exakick before they're able to turn out damage, but with that gone, SK turn over towards the Baron, and GIANTX would try desperately to get this mid lane tower, but even then, I don't think SK want to give him anything.
Dots and Nisqy can probably just defend. Accelerated shot blast going wide. A minute and a half on the Chem Soul for SK. They are very much in the ascendancy in this game. And we are a good first win for them as well. I think everyone on the team has performed admirably. Exakick as well, after I said, you know, I had some doubts over him after yesterday's performance. Had a very strong showing. SK tomorrow play up against Vitality, who are looking really good, so we'll see if they can continue this run of form. GIANTX have Mad Lions Koi.
Yeah, which is not any easier.
No, I would say it's harder than SK, considering they made our finals.
Yeah, and also did a good job up against G2, but yeah, I think this is where for GIANTX is a little unfortunate because they came in lucky, and in winter, you know, they made playoffs and they were one of the teams that were able to pick up wins against some of the teams that were lower down the bracket. But with losing to Carmine Corp yesterday in what was a very, very messy game, and now not really able to put up much of a fight here against SK apart from some nice early plays from the bot lane, it's not looking too hot for GIANTX coming into spring right now.
I think the problem is you see the win con, right? They had Patrik and IgNar ahead in this game. They were winning through the bot lane. They moved them up to the top side well. They stayed around. They got all of this early gold, and then it just all collapsed. Isma finding an engage as well as Patrik's locked up and shut out with a Shockwave, Magnet Storm combination. Not really much he can do. Irrelevant pushing through the mid lane. Even yesterday, they had the win con of Smolder, and they just weren't able to find it. Weren't able to actualize on it. Double inhibitor is going to go down as DOS looks for another dredge line. Depth charge as well onto Odoamne. He falls down to a 3rd HP. Inhibitor in the mid lane still standing as Irrelevant decided instead to come over here and bolster up his team. Glacial Prism hits onto the backline, but there's no follow-up. Jackie's trying to do what he can from range. IgNar doing the same. One Nexus Tower falls. Teleport out by Nisqy into the teleport in by Nisqy. It was a recall into TP. Mid lane inhibitor goes down. Irrelevant looking for Odoamne. Glacial Prism not available for Peach. Explosive cast possibility, but it's all done by that Nexus going down now as GIANTX are just locked up in place. SK will get their first win of the split in convincing fashion.
Yeah, I mean, it was only a matter of time, but SK were able to pick it up at the end of the day. I mean, look, as you say, GIANTX, strong early game. They should have been able to close this one out, but big mistakes from Peach. Caught out on multiple different occasions and just gave that opportunity for SK to slow down the pace of the game, start to find these team fights, and once they had the team fights, there was just no stopping.
I wonder what would have happened for GIANTX if they hadn't had those few individual errors. Player of the game votes at LEC on Twitter though. Irrelevant, Isma and DOS are your options. I think they all had good games. Like Irrelevant, as we said, quietly had a very strong performance, was dominating the later game team fights. Isma found some good engages, DOS did the same. We're going to go to a short break, but afterwards, Exakick will be joining us on the Analyst desk.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Laure, did you steal my Kit Kat?